Welcome back to another episode of the Black Cinema Experience
Podcast.
It's your girl JB,
I'm Cameron.
and we have a wonderful, delightful, exciting, tantalizing episode for you today. We just went to the movies and saw the new release of the movie The Blackening.
Absolutely.
This movie is a comical horror, is how I would classify it, about 8 friends that go up to a cabin and they basically experience, what you experience in a scary cabin story. They have to fight for their life and find out who the killer is. And of course, there's some twists and turns along the way.
But it's very black.
It's all black. And the best part about this movie being a horror story and having that element of comedy is black people need to be able to laugh to make things realistic. Like it has to be funny in an annoying manner to us to make it realistic. So I don't want to get too deep into it yet. I want to go ahead and turn it over to Cameron and tell us what you think about the movie.
I mean, well, I love the movie. First of all, it's so good to see a black situational horror comedy. Like we've always talked about for years, what black people would do in a horror movie, what they wouldn't do, and it made it even more exciting because since everybody's black, it's like you have so many more different personalities, and you can't just like base the black characters off of the white characters.
Right.
You have to base the black characters off of the other black characters, which makes it even more hilarious because you have just all those different chaotic scenarios, and it's chef's kiss.
What you're saying is there's elements to blackness and that this movie portrayed the elements perfectly.
Who would have thought?
And I agree 100%. Because you have like the African black, you have the mixed girl black, yes. You have the I'm a gay guy black, you have the nerdy black, then the actual black, the ghetto hood one, the thug one.
Nerdy black.
You got a whole arrangement, a whole variety. And I think it's really important that movies and TV shows start to reflect how many different variations of blackness there are. Because for so long we've been stereotyped. So it's really good to write our own stories and have our own image being projected in the different shades and variations that exist.
Exactly. Like that's the thing. When you have the problem, I feel like it's been people get afraid when there's too many black people on one project because they're like, oh, how can we diversify these characters? Mm-hmm. And this is done perfectly. And I mean, we could have even done more. It's like because there's so many different aspects of black people. So, but I thought they did an amazing job with this movie. I know it started off as a skit, which I loved a couple years ago. So just seeing it come into a full circle like story and seeing them expand on it, really, it was just so done so well.
Right, and the skit was based off of like who's the blackest, right? And it was like no, I'm that black. She's blacker than me. And there's some funniness to that because in reality, right, for black people, there is always that moment where you're around your black friends, right? You're around your friends, period, who happen to be black. And you're watching something and they're like, you haven't seen Friday? You haven't seen Don't Be a Menace? It's like everyone wants to revoke your black card immediately if you don't know how to play spades or if you don't do these typical traditional black things like fried chicken. That was me. I didn't like fried chicken for the longest.
Which is still debatable, but we're going to give it a pass.
I like it now. Dang. They still want to take your black card. But anyways.
No, it's just like you said, like it's so crazy to see them like take all these stereotypes and like something we can all laugh at.
Yeah.
And because black people laugh at it anyway, but it's like we still have like those little pockets of culture that we have to like hold on to because it's like all we have, low-key, high-key. But to see them present it in a way that, everybody can be involved.
Yeah.
Even the black people who aren't, necessarily in on the joke sometimes. Mm-hmm. I thought it was just like, wow, like they really, really thought about it. And the whole premise of like in a horror movie, because the black person always dies first. Mm-hmm. So when it's all black people having to see, okay, who's the blackest, exactly who's gonna die first, and it shows like how everybody jumped out of character, like, well, I'm black, but I like this, or I don't like, these certain aspects of black culture. I don't know how to play spades, so I'm not black,
Yeah, these very simple elements to colorism, or not even colorism, but to blackness, right?
Exactly.
These very simple elements of like, oh yeah, you're blackity black because you carry guns and you went to jail and you got a white wife, and you're not so black, or you're the blackest because you're from Africa. It's weird how those stereotypes that we like have either undercover or that we speak on out loud come out in this movie in a very comical way.
And it's funny how they change that aspect that we keep those things as comfort and safety to make them unsafe in a scary movie. Like usually, like okay, I'm cool. You know, I love Tupac, I love rap music, I love soul food. And then when they switch it up, like those are things that are gonna get you killed. It's like, you know, I actually love Chinese food. That's not my favorite. Like, you know, like the switch up was really. I thought that was so clever how they use like those tropes, like you know, these things that we usually, like I said, hold so near and dear to make them the things that get you killed in this movie,
right? Which
is like,
right. You're like proximity to whiteness.
Exactly.
There were some interesting things that happened. There's another scene I want to talk about specifically, and I don't know if you paid attention to it, how I paid attention to it, but when the black girl Lisa is bludgeoning the guy, you know. So, spoiler alert. When the black girl Lisa though, when she's whooping his ass, she's like, I'm tired. Yeah. Did you catch that at all?
Yeah, she said, I'm so sick of black women having to save everybody.
Yeah. I said, there were some very deep subliminals in this film.
Yes.
It was minor. It was only for a moment. We didn't make it all about black women saving the day, but a black woman saved the day.
It needs to be addressed, and I feel
only after she was undermined. Only after she was told she couldn't do it, she saved the day. Just because that's kind of like how the world kind of mimics black women anyway. So I thought that was really funny that they let her have that scene. I was glad that they let her have that scene.
It was genius.
They didn't overdo it. Yeah. But I think that it echoed a lot of black women sentiments in the world in 2023 today, right now. Like, we're so fucking tired. She was like, I'm tired of carrying everybody. I was like, oh, bitch.
I said, let it out. I said, this is the time to have that healing of the trauma. Go ahead and let it out.
Because they go to therapy.
So, but my thing is, so what do you think? What do you have to say to people who aren't black that want to watch this movie? Do you feel like it's a movie for everybody to see, or do you think it's something that black people should hold near and dear just for ourselves?
We're talking about a very uncomfortable thing right now, white people. If you're white and you were listening, this is the warning. So sorry in advance. It's not that we don't want you in our spaces. It's just that when we have black jokes inside the black community and a white person laughs at it, it's like they're laughing at us and they can't laugh with us. Our experience is not their experience. I do want white people's money to support this black film. And I do think that white people will look at this film and see a friend group and see common scenarios like the dumb girlfriend that always goes back to the boyfriend that's cheating, and maybe the gay best friend that feels out of place and is a little dramatic. There's always these little elements to different friend groups, so they may be able to see themselves. I am hypersensitive about how white people laugh at black jokes. So that's a tricky question.
I mean, but the thing is that the way it was done, I felt it was done well enough to where we weren't being laughed at. So in retrospect, most of the time when the black person makes a joke, like, I love fried chicken, you know, like, and everybody's like, Tyrone, you love fried chicken. I feel like with these jokes, I feel like they were jokes that we laughed at and that we weren't the like blunt of the joke. Like, you know, like even when like they made like certain jokes pertaining to people and their blackness, I still feel like it was done in a way to where we know it's funny. And I feel like a lot of people who aren't necessarily aware of the inside joke can still laugh and not be demeaning about the laugh.
Yeah, no, that's true. They were very tasteful. They were very tasteful with the way they went about the jokes. So maybe it wouldn't be so much like white people were laughing at us, that they were laughing with us.
Well, some movies, because that can happen.
It's a very thin line. And Blackening did a good job balancing on that line. I will say, though, in regard to that, the white girls in the movie next to me, they were very unsure about where to laugh, when to laugh, what was funny. Meanwhile, we started laughing the moment the movie started to the moment the movie ended. There was like no breaks. It was just comedy nonstop. So again, it's a black person's story in that way. Like the references, the movies they bring up, the lines they use, like, you know, when they reference Set It Off towards the end. There are so many, hilarious. There are so many key components in this movie that really, like, you know, warm us up and make us feel good. And I think that the us I'm referring to black people. So I would love if white people support it. But do I know if they're going to really get it the way that we got it? I'm not sure.
I feel like that, and I don't mean to make the conversation about white people, but I feel like anybody who sees this movie, if you're a black person, I feel like you're going to be able to see yourself in at least one of the characters at any given moment. Because again, a lot of them like everybody had like their assignment, but I still felt like you said there was depth in their assignment. So like you can still see, like I can still see myself in like, Shaniqua or any other characters, And I feel like with white people, I feel like they might not be able to necessarily relate to the blackness aspect, but they can relate to
the survival,
the survival instincts, and the fact that some people still do make dumb decisions. And which I thought was a whole nother situation before to see all these black people put themselves in survival scenarios. But I also feel like it's a movie for everybody. It can be.
Yeah, everybody.
But be respectful, because they're like, again, there were some people in the movie that I feel like we're not respectful of.
Yeah.
What was going on?
Again, very tricky. Because when they laugh at our jokes and when they share our sentiments, sometimes I'm like, that's not yours though.
Exactly.
That's ours. What are we doing here? But I guess nothing is ours. But like, we're not using y'all shit, but y'all shit not cool like our shit. It's just very tricky business. It's very tricky business. But I like the fact that we have a horror film that skinned the lines of comedy, that had a strong storyline. And it actually made it was almost believable. Like I think my biggest problem with horror movies is that they're never believable enough. And it was like, okay, these white people go to a nice cabin, everything was set up in a weird way, but there was a narrative. They had a driving force on revenge, essentially.
Yeah.
So like it was actually a good story to watch. It actually followed through, and it wasn't just some irrational horror film that didn't make sense. That
didn't make sense out of nowhere. But I also want to say, like, kudos to the actors, because I feel like every actor in this movie, I'll say 99% of the actors in this movie, 99% of the actors in the movie did a really good job portraying their characters, but also making it believable. Because, like you said, again, spoiler but no spoiler, because the twist on like why everything is happening, I literally said at the end of the movie, like, I can see why that would be like the cause of all of this happening. Absolutely 100%. Because like I've felt those moments too, in certain aspects. So I just really felt.
What you mean?
Well, the reason why it was happening, not that I want to go commit and kill people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I feel like, in certain spaces, like with certain black people, I have felt like the sense that they would try to revoke my black card.
Yeah.
And I'll be like,
He's talking about me.
No, it's not you.
I do check black card. I'll be like, so you made it your whole life without playing spades or bones? You don't know how to play dominoes? That's me. I am that person.
I can say I haven't felt that from you, but I have felt that from other people.
Yeah.
Whose name I won't say because I don't want to put anybody on blast.
And I even respect your Boys in the Hood t-shirt. I mean, have you seen the movie?
Absolutely. First of all, John Singleton.
Black card, check.
This is what I grew up on. Menace to Society. Have you seen?
Okay, yeah. Of course I have.
I'm just making sure, we got to check. Because that's one thing I also liked about in the movie, like when they were answering the questions and the black people were saying answers out loud.
Yeah.
Because it's like that knowing. Yeah. Of like these are part of, like the essentials.
Our ancestors was whispering the answers to them as they was around that little table. They was like, yes, the Sojourner Truth is.
Exactly.
That was.
What did it say, Harriet Tubman? I said.
I laughed. I laughed because a white person would be like, that sounds.
Aren't they the same? They didn't call Harriet Tubman Sojourner Truth. But they all look the same.
The questions were hard though. The funny part about it is there is no actual like question path to blackness. Like answering certain questions right do not make you black. Because a lot of white people do know the answer to those questions, and a lot of black people don't. So there's no real like there's no validity to race, like in certain aspects, but there's no validity to it in that movie. It was good.
It was nice.
I'm just saying it was good.
I would actually like to see. Well, I would like to X out the actual board games caricature they had, because I'm not with like
the character was Step and Fetch It, right? Or was that a different character?
I think I know it's from like the 1950s or like the Jim Crow, I can't think of the name when they do the minstrel shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those caricatures, when I see those pictures, it's funny because those pictures to me are very scary. Like I get horrified and scared when I see those. And I think, how do people have like salt shakers and stuff like this in their house?
How are they calling this comedy?
Exactly.
Y'all were weird.
But I would like to see the actual board game. Like I know there's other black board games out there. Look them up. There are a lot. They're really good. But I would like to see like them come up with a blackening like board game after this movie.
I don't know. What do you mean? Because I
Like,
mean, the game was like essentially like a killing tool.
no, not like the actual like movie, but like the game they were playing
Yeah, like with the
with
questions
the
about their
questions. Yeah,
blackness.
I would love that.
I don't necessarily. It's called Black Card Revoked. It
I,
already
I know,
exists.
but I'm saying with the but with the like the actual board game where you like have to survive. I think that would
Yeah,
be cool.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. I really don't see the need to have anything else out there saying you're not black enough. You know, you didn't make it around the table. Snatch their card. I don't really like need to play a game to do that, to just invalidate my very black experience because anyone else needs to know I'm blackity black. So
Blacky
I mean,
black.
blackity black doesn't get much blacker.
Well, I have a little, Cherokee Indian. I'm joking now, but that's what I'm saying because everybody always got Native American in them all of a sudden. But I mean, no knock if you do.
Especially D next say it though. That's so funny. So weird. I thought grandma was Indian.
They always say she was 115.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But sometimes you get knocked out by other.
So tell me what your least favorite part of this movie was.
Least favorite?
Because I know we always go on these tangents about how good the film was. Wonderful, fantastical.
Oh, for criticism.
Yeah, give me some criticism on this black film. Show the people that we can be fair with our biases.
Absolutely. Criticism. That's a strong word.
Got it.
See, I knew you were gonna say it.
So there's a reason why. Like Yvonne Orji she's only in the movie for a short moment. So if you are an Yvonne Orji fan, and I am, she's only in there for about 5 to 6 minutes, and you might see her again for another like 1 to 2. But she's really not there for any real time. And she's just not a very believable actress. And in discussing Yvonne Orji as an actress, I understand why she would be cast to be Issa's best friend in Insecure. Mm-hmm. Because Insecure is based on an awkward black girl, and of course, an awkward black girl has to have an awkward black girl best friend. Duh. But as far as acting, yeah, that was my least favorite part. I'm like, man, there's so many, and I don't think Yvonne's. Here's where I'm going with this.
No, I want to hear it
because the little trailer that this movie's based on, was so comical,
yes,
and so good. Mm-hmm. That they could have used any other black girl and given her a debut. But yet we're just going to keep picking from the same pile of black women. And I do feel like that's unfair because, again, Yvonne Orji is a wonderful person, I'm sure. I love the things that I've seen her in. She fits in certain things that I've seen her in. But I do not necessarily think that she has to be the pick of the litter for everything right now. Like
for every comedy, too. So I understand what you're saying.
There's so many of us. But then again, get the check though. I want her to get the check. At least I went to a black.
Make the money. I will say I actually wish the white actors that were in there were actually better actors. So I feel like everybody was doing such a good job at being comical. Like I feel like sometimes their jokes weren't delivered well, and I said, "Oh, that's it." I'm not mad because it's not necessarily about them, but we want to nitpick at
It's really hard though because with the lines that they wrote in, basically black people, we do put white people in certain boxes, right? Where it's like we want your support and we want you to support like our desire to be black, like we want you to support our blackness, but we don't want you to be in our black spaces. But we're not like the KKK, like we won't kill you or anything for being in our black.
We're not
spaces.
Burning down your schools and businesses, or
or throwing rocks at your door, making you lose your job.
Crosses on the front line.
We're not doing any of that. But if this barbecue could remain black, without your white presence, making us uncomfortable, wondering why you're in our black space. It's our safe space to be ourselves.
I mean, they do it for bar mitzvahs and stuff like that, and Greek weddings. So
but we don't really be in there.
Exactly. So I'm saying, so I feel like we can have the cookout.
So we should be able to have something that's ours.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that the white people, they wrote the white people inside the boxes that black people wish that white people would stay in.
And that's true.
Yeah. Like, I wish that we just knew that you were our enemy or that you were a friend. But that whole situation with the cop and them not knowing to trust him or not, that's literally how we feel about all white people. Every time they saw him, too, it was like, I don't know, should we trust you? I don't know, maybe we should, maybe we, it was like, because that is how we feel about white people.
In reality.
Yeah. it's crazy how much this movie for me echoed reality, especially with like the different relationships that each person had.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like the best friend who had this like whole I'm so dramatic, like
Mhm.
you know, like it's all about me. But then he had this deep introspective moment. And then he was like partying by himself. Like there's these cute little human moments that are like really reflective.
I also want to talk about, because I'm glad you brought up the friendship, because like the whole moment when you give black people talk with their face,
Yeah,
and it's literally a language,
Yes,
and they explained it perfectly,
yes,
and they did it so subtly
yeah,
in the shots.
yeah.
I said, this is so accurate.
Yeah. Not only is it accurate, but it was exactly what we needed to see.
Perfectly.
So you know, for film students or people who were into film,
Mhm.
for years and years and years and years, they tell you do not narrate your stories. Avoid narration as much as you possibly can because it's almost like telling the audience what to think, what to do. And this new generation of filmmakers either don't know or don't care, and I'm grateful for it either way because I mean we have shows like You that exist now, which are basically completely narration. Like I've seen episodes of that show where I'm like, did Joe ever move his mouth? And like the answer is no.
Seriously.
Yeah. So they're playing with narration in a whole new way, and now we're showing Black people's expressiveness because our faces are very expressive. We do have multiple conversations, and there were like pivotal moments that happened with that narration voice of them narrating themselves. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? And it's like, wow, they're killing it.
Like I don't know, I can't explain it because there's been so many situations where you can look at a friend and really just give them that look and you instantly know.
Yeah.
And it's like the way you could feel it. I don't know. I just really like that. But also speaking, since you were talking about the film aspect, I want to talk about the music because literally they brought on so many different music tropes from other horror movies. I thought was like really cool. Like they incorporated Jason. I want to say I think they incorporated The Shining. I'm gonna check about that. But they were incorporating like a lot of different horror like tropes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was also so clever because and like they kind of flipped them to kind of make them comical.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is just such good storytelling.
Yeah. Agree. 100%.
So I was wanting to throw that in there, like the music, like the musical aspect. I feel like it really drives a lot of the film. Obviously, we know all movies now have so many aspects of music in them. So seeing that done well too in the movie, I feel like it's only elevated. Like the storytelling also.
It's also kind of funny that in this Black film they didn't overdo Black music too. Because you know, you ever watch a white movie or even like certain movies like cartoons where it's like hip hop start to finish, it's like this is a lot. This is a lot, guys.
And it's like black people don't only listen to hip hop.
Yeah,
like,
are you meeting a quota? Who is this for? And it was just really great to see again, like the diversity in characters, the diversity in music, all of that without it feeling quota based, without it feeling like a check mark was being met, you know? Like they really were thoughtful about the different characters that they used, their backstory and how they all collided. And even the tension between the boyfriend and the best friend, they were very careful about how they created it and how they led the story. You know, there was no moment in watching that movie where I felt like, oh my God, what's happening? I don't.
Exactly.
The story made sense. It was simple, to the point. These friends went to a cabin to reunite. Someone that they basically bullied was there, and he wanted revenge. End of story. Simple, sweet, to the point. Good storytelling, good movie. And again, for the most part, really great actresses and actors.
Yes, 99%.
I hate that Yvonne Orji always gets this like I don't think she deserves it. I think she's excellent.
She is excellent in certain aspects.
Yeah.
And that's what.
Yeah. They're like, make this scene a little cheesy. She was like, on it.
But I definitely think you guys should definitely go see this movie. Again, I'll give it a 9.9 out of 10 because nothing's perfect. I would say, but it was pretty close.
But you never said your least favorite part, though.
I did. I told you when I told you like the white characters could have been better actors. I feel like
that was the critique.
I mean, I feel like I can't find anything else wrong per se. I guess I would say this is one thing I would say because it was so funny. Like I'm talking about, I was cackling that some of the jokes were so close together.
Yeah.
So it was hard when I was laughing and then hear another joke, and I'm laughing at that one now too. And so I was missing some of the dialogue because I really was cackling.
No, true that. Oh my gosh, what a point.
So, but is that bad? I don't know,
I'm
but it
like,
was
did you
just.
guys try this in front of the studio audience so you can see how long they really laugh for? Because I was laughing too hard at some of those jokes, and I missed a lot
I
of
was
good stuff.
cackling.
I missed so much. So yeah, that would be that's a great feedback point.
Like, but I mean, I guess that's a critique.
And your favorite thing?
My favorite thing, there's so many. So I loved. First of all, I loved how it was shot. I feel like everybody had outfits, and the lighting complimented everybody because I feel like that's hard, especially when we have so many different skin
Shades of
type black
black
people.
people.
So we had like really dark black people, we had really light black people. So like the way that they were like really incorporating the lighting, I feel like fit everybody. Actually, I will say my favorite character. I really feel like the Oscar goes to the actor that played Clifton. I feel like he really acted that part.
I feel like he did exactly what he was supposed to do. He was a level of cheesiness of Eddie Murphy in all of the Professor Nutty Professors, which I hate. By the way,
What?
Yeah, I absolutely hate that level of hey, I'm such a nerd. I absolutely hate that. It makes me cringe. And he did a great job doing the character because that's what the character called for. But do I hate that that's who they wrote in? You know what I mean? Because like, it's not always the nerd, guys. You know what I mean? One thing, and I'm bringing up something different now, but I'm sorry for doing this. But like in Euphoria, right? The weirdest person on Euphoria is the cool guy, the football player, Jacob or whatever his name is.
Jacob L.
He's so dreamy. Sorry, black people.
Not on the Black Cinema podcast.
Oh my gosh, but no, like he is the biggest bully. He is literally a psychopath.
Yeah.
And I think that there are so many different variations of psychopath that we don't have to go to the same. He's a nerd. He's a loser. Like when I was in high school, the nerds I knew they was fucking and they was doing a lot of things.
They were the band geeks always.
They were doing a lot of things that made them very not nerdy. They were the first ones to know about drugs, and they always could get some liquor. So like nerds, I don't like that usual stereotype of like the nerd is a crazy one, and you know. But I do understand in this film how they had to like isolate, have him have an isolated experience where it was like, you can't play spades with us. You know, you're cast out. You're not black enough. Like I understand why, but you know, anyways. It could have been anybody.
Again, but I also want to go deeper into that character because I feel like they were trying to show like how people who are so confused with their blackness do have like that sense of insanity inside of them. But I do understand as far as like the way he portrayed it. But I feel like I actually really liked how they made it. Yeah, because I feel like those people who really find it hard to identify with their blackness are the ones that be cutting up.
Yeah, they are.
So I was like, but again, he didn't have to be, like typical.
And you know, I think that the good part about this movie is that it shows you the different levels of black people in so many different aspects. So maybe someone out there will say, "Oh, I don't have to present as this version of black to be black enough."
Yeah.
Like maybe this movie will encourage some black people out there that are still fighting with assimilating or whatever into either whiteness or blackness. Maybe they'll find a lane of their own and they'll say, "This is my balance. This is my happy space." Maybe they'll watch this and feel understood.
Like, just be you.
Yeah,
that's what everybody. That's why my favorite scenes when everybody's like talking about like who's trying to be trying to find out who's the blackest. It's because all these other things pop out and it's like, just be you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can really start to validate these other things that aren't necessarily black, but you're still at the end of the day you're still black.
In the struggle of why do we assign blackness to certain things? Like, why does this have to be black? Why is that? I think that that's just very interesting to see how the movie kind of took those traditional stereotypes apart. Like, you know what I mean? Not all black people have watched Living Single. Not all black people eat fried chicken.
They should though. You should watch Living Single. But no, but I didn't mean to take exactly. But no, but seriously, I 100% agree. You are correct.
Yeah. Overall, for me, my synopsis is that it's a great movie. It shares wonderful relationships among friend groups and surviving a horror story, and it gives us a wonderful dash of comedy that is unique. and it's new in the version of in the storytelling of narrating, and it's new in just diversity among Black people without having certain quotas of there got to be more white people, or there's a white person in power, or these Black people are like this. You know, even the thug wasn't necessarily a thug, right? He was changed. His life's different now. You know what I'm saying? So like, there was just so many elements for me that made this movie great. Loved it. I would definitely encourage anyone who hasn't seen it to go see it. It just came out in theaters, and you know they did not put enough money behind ads. Exactly. So we have to do the ad work and get this film noticed and seen. Absolutely. Go see it. And if you saw it, just make a comment. Let us know how you felt about the movie, because we would love to read. Can you tell them comment again? Comment. Did I do it the wrong way? I meant to do it this way. Comment. Because I'm a two-finger typer, but that's a whole nother story. So, but make sure you all comment. Go see the movie. Spend your money. It's worth it. Thank you guys for watching another episode of the Black Cinema Experience podcast. Again, I'm your girl JB. And I'm Cameron. Please remember to like, comment, and share this video if you like it. And of course, subscribe to our podcast. We're on Apple and Spotify. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week. I'm going to start putting the theme